Hello everyone to Forest Focus. It's a battle of two unbeaten teams with identical records on Sunday as Nottingham Forest go to Brighton in the Premier League. Joining me to discuss the game from a Brighton point of view and look at their start to season under 31-year-old Fabian Hurzeler is Az Phillips, who you might know as the other half of FPL BlackBox with our own Mark Sutherns. Az, good to have you with us. Are you well?
I'm very well. Yeah, thank you. Good to be. Love the intro, by the way. I was vibing to that as it was on. Very
Oh, well,
nice.
thank you. I think people are finally getting used to it. If you change, as you know, with what you do, if you change anything, it doesn't really
Yeah,
matter what it is. People hate it, whether you
yeah.
think it's good or not. So, no,
We change our color scheme every year on Black Box, and that always leads to maximum outrage. But we're on like a pink at the moment, which obviously caused a bit of controversy. But I think people now quite like it.
No, I like it. I like it. And if you haven't checked out Black Box, then definitely do. If you play FPL, or if you've just got a general interest in football stats, then it's probably a good watch or listen for you. Let's talk about Brighton then. Like I say, both teams played for 1-2, drawn 2, lost none. So it feels like a good start. What have you made of it from kind of the eye test of what you've seen of it? Has it exceeded expectations or been about what you thought it might be?
Yeah, I think points wise probably exceeded expectations. You know, we brought in a young manager, obviously never managed a game in a top league at all. Great season last year with St. Pauli, got them promoted. But you know, moving over from De Zerbi, very highly rated manager, very well respected, despite the problems that we had last season, and a bit of a mixed start. You know, Everton, Ipswich looked winnable for us, but obviously Manchester United and Arsenal were very different games. And yeah, to be unbeaten at this stage, I'm really happy with. And yeah, I thought there might be a bit more of a bedding in period, but it started really well for us.
What did you make when the manager was appointed? Because Brighton have done so well. There's always a risk it's going to blow up in their faces. We've seen with other clubs like Southampton springs to mind, but Brighton have had such a track record of making good appointments and good signings. Were you wary at all when he came in, or did you just trust the process, as we now say?
I was a bit wary because you kind of think, you know, when does it run out? You know, I know there's obviously been good decisions being made, but I think Southampton are a great example. You know, when you're selling key players, you know, De Zerbi left under a bit of a cloud in the end, and there was some question marks around recruitment and signings, him not getting necessarily the players he wanted or not getting the budget that he wanted. So is it that we're bringing in this new manager, we're going to sell a load of players, not really make any signings and not really kick on from where we were a few years ago? But you know, everyone talks about Brighton being such a well-run club, and you do just have that faith in Tony Bloom that, you know, the research is there. There's a clear identity for the club and how he wants the club to play. So, you know, with every appointment, it's not going to be, you know, moving to an Allardyce or a Sean Dyche or some, no disrespect to them, but we play and want to play in a completely different way, in a different style of football. So, you know that when a manager's in, I mean, I imagine Tony Bloom's already got the next Hurzeler replacement lined up. You know, if things go south with him, which hopefully he won't, he'll know who he wants to move to for the next one. So that's never. I don't know that being the case with any other club, really, not to that level of kind of in depth detail who they want to appoint. So yeah, I was a bit nervous, but I trusted the process.
Good. I guess there's some irony after De Zerbi going, because the net spend of Brighton this summer was actually pretty huge for you know, compared to other Premier League clubs. I'm trying to think of the headline signings. I guess Ruta from Leeds stood out because it was such a big fee. Minter, who we almost signed as well, was interesting business, and I'm sure there was more. What did you make of the recruitment over the summer?
The recruitment's been unbelievable. I mean, I think we're the second highest net spend in Europe after Chelsea. I think I read that some obviously Real Madrid have signed Mbappe, but you know, in terms of actual money, outlay money, it's been a lot. And you know, we've strengthened key areas that we were lacking in. You know, Weaver has come in. I know he's obviously missed the first couple of games, but he's been that kind of Casado replacement that we've been crying out for, that kind of defensive midfielder. Left back was a bit of a problem position for us, and Kadioglu's come in, who can play kind of in either position. You know, Gruder, who I'd not heard of, but I saw the highlight reel on YouTube, and he looks like the best player I've ever seen in my life. So when he comes back in, it's you know, you've always got to trust those YouTube compilations. They never let you down. Minte as well looks absolutely brilliant, and so key to like the style we're looking to play. I think the only one of all of them that I have my eyebrow raised at a bit is the Ruta signing, because that was our record transfer fee in a position that I actually thought we were pretty strong in. You know, with O'Reilly, with João Pedro, you know, Gruder can play in that position as well. That one seemed a bit of like a luxury transfer, whereas the others seemed a bit more kind of necessary. So have to wait and see on that. But yeah, he's the only one that I'm a bit 40 million for Rutem. Not too sure about that.
Yeah, especially as you got João Pedro there already, like you say, it was an interesting one. What about tactically? What's changed? Has a lot changed under the new manager, or is it all pretty much as you were?
Yeah, not really. We still play out of the back. We still press. I think he's a bit less naive than De Zerbi in some games. I think he sometimes Hurts happy to set the team up with a bit more of a flat back four and kind of invite a bit of pressure, whereas De Zerbi would always be looking to attack and press. And actually, from the games I saw in pre-season, we looked a lot more forceful in the pressing that we were doing on the goalkeeper, on the defenders, whereas haven't really seen that in the 4 games so far. And it's been very different styles of teams. Everton and Ipswich obviously defended really, really deep. Arsenal came out a lot higher, so did Manchester United, and it's been the same sort of tactics around those, in that we haven't really gone out to press, but we still really look to kind of build on mistakes that other teams make, and win the ball back quickly and then counter really quickly. But when we lose the ball, we drop deeper than I think we saw under De Zerbi. But yeah, I think we'll talk about it in a bit. But we're still very get-at-able. So we'll always be a little bit going into this game against Forest.
Yes, strengths and weaknesses were next on my list. So what are the strengths? Is it the aggression and the high press, or is it something else that, as Forest fans, we should be fearing?
Yeah, I think strength-wise, we look a real unit, look a real team. Everyone's completely bought into the system. These are players who aren't having to learn a brand new style of football. They're players who have worked under very similar styles under De Zerbi, and a lot of them under Potter as well. So I don't think there's any issues with that. The cohesion in terms of attacking, defending, dropping, all that thing is working really well. Other strengths are like the attacking options we've got at our disposal are frankly amazing, and I think particularly the wingers in Matoma and Minte can, they're world class. Really, they can cause any defense problems on their day. I think João Pedro's an excellent link man. We really missed him against Ipswich, kind of at the last weekend. And then Welbeck has started the season really strongly. I think that's an interesting area with what happens with that. Does João Pedro move up to the 9? Does Ferguson come back into the team? Obviously, so highly rated last year, but hasn't really delivered because of all the injuries. Or does Welbeck kind of keep his place? So yeah, there's still kind of some question marks around the 9, but other areas we're kind of really, really strong in. Weaknesses, just long balls, long balls over the top are still killing us. When we do press our centre backs a bit too high, we saw it against Everton in the first 20 minutes. I mean, we've been lucky. I think I know I say about it, it's been a great start points wise, but we could easily have dropped points in some of these games. Everton caused us so many problems in that first half. Manchester United had that goal ruled out. Saka had Hinchelwood on absolute toast for the first 30-40 minutes in that game, and Delap could have scored from that breakaway goal for Ipswich. So yeah, and a lot of the problems are being caused by the lack of pace that we have in defence. Duncan's Van Heck are not quick in any way. Hinchelwood isn't a left back, and he's being forced to play there. Veltman hasn't got a lot of pace, but he has started really strongly. So I worry about the long ball, and I worry about fast wingers. And obviously you've got Alanga and Hudson-Odoi, which, yeah, a little bit concerning.
Okay, so that's really interesting because we didn't play with wingers at
No.
Anfield, and we looked really good, and we looked, really strong, really disciplined, and funneled them through this, out wide and clogged up the centre of the pitch. So if we were to name the wingers, you'd be more worried then. You think, oh, that's Nuno spotted something here. You think then?
I'd be very surprised if you didn't. That's kind of that's Nuno's tactics that I kind of relate to him is quick breakaway counter goals, get the ball to the wingers and try and cause problems. And I think you'll have quite a lot of success in that, because Ipswich didn't really have a lot of quick wingers, and Leif Davies didn't push very high up the pitch to kind of create things. But when Delap did attack us with pace, Van Heck just couldn't get near him. And I thought he was going to bring him down and give away a penalty. In the end, he kind of shoved him out maybe a little bit wide, but he still got off a great shot. And they maybe didn't really do enough of that, but didn't really have the pace to trouble us too much. Whereas, yeah, I think with Alanga and Hudson, I mean, again, though, even if you don't start with that and they come on at 45 minutes, I'm still concerned that they're going to cause us problems. The left back slot is really interesting to know what Brighton do in that. And obviously, you asked me if I predicted lineup. That's the position where I just spent ages on, because I just don't really know who's going to who's going to play there, but I kind of feel like anyone who plays there is going to have problems with Elanga in that position when he comes on. So yeah, have to see what Hurzeler's thinking is there.
So yeah, run us through your predicted lineup, and I'll ask you about a couple of names and a couple of players that I know won't be in it because one of them's left the club. But what would be your predicted lineup as we sit here right now?
Yeah, it's pretty similar to the one that started against Ipswich, really. Verbruggen in goal. He's got that number 1 jersey now over Steele. Veltman's been one of the best players so far this season. I thought he was maybe most at risk of dropping out, obviously because we've signed Kadioglu, but he'll definitely play. He's been fantastic. Dunk, Van Heck pick themselves, and then like I said, left back is really tricky. I think Kadioglu probably starts this one. He came on at sort of around the 60-minute mark. He didn't look quite up to speed, but he has got pace, very highly rated. Kind of want to get him in the team. Keep your eye on the team sheet tonight with Wolves. I don't think it'll be Hinshelwood though, and Estupiñán just hasn't played enough minutes, so I'm gonna go for Kadioglu there. Midfield, I've gone for Baleba. He was excellent against Ipswich, and Ayari. He's been starting since Milner got injured. Started the last 2. Up front, Minte, Pedro, as long as he's fit. Matoma and Welbeck. If Pedro's fit, I'm sure he'll be straight back into the 11. So yeah, I think most of the positions are pretty easy, but yeah, there's Kadioglu at left back that stands out as the not the one I'm not too sure about.
Yeah, we're recording this on Wednesday afternoon for people who are watching this on it'll come out on Friday properly, so hopefully nothing changes too much from that. So a couple of players I wanted to ask you about. One was the fullbacks, especially left back. I don't want to bring up your FPL Barco situation, but
no, that's going to haunt me forever, I think.
I know people went there, and he was playing in pre-season, so yeah, that was what I was going to ask you. Like, what happened there? Because Hinshelwood, I thought, was a central midfielder, and also obviously Estupiñán's such a quality player. Is he still out then?
He's back. He was on the bench against Ipswich. He played 20 minutes, I think, in the game before, and he went off for international duty. So he is fit and available. I guess it's just a case of kind of building up his fitness and getting him back in. But I mean, even when he is fully fit, I'm not entirely sure he starts over Kadioglu. And I think the Veltman form means that he's more likely to stay in the team, because I thought at the start of the season, well, I thought Barco would start. Obviously, that didn't turn out quite as expected. But I thought Kadioglu would move over to the right back slot potentially, and kind of oust Veltman from the team. But you can't really oust Veltman the way he's playing. So if Kadioglu is going to come in, I think he does. He kind of has to come in at left back. Maybe that means Hinshelwood. I mean, in my predicted lineup, I haven't got Hinshelwood in the 11 at all. Maybe Hinshelwood gets put into central midfield over Ayari, for example. But Hinshelwood hasn't played a lot at centre mid for us. He was predominantly at right back or right wing back for us last year until he got injured. And I was really surprised to see him starting at left back for us. But he's a versatile player; he can play anywhere. And yeah, I think Hurzeler clearly likes him. So maybe he keeps his place in the team. But yeah, I'd imagine, depending on how well Veltman carries on, I'd expect to see it to go to Kadioglu at right and Estupiñán on the left. But yeah, not in the short term.
What about them defensively? Because obviously we saw Hudson-Odoi score the goal against Liverpool, where Conor Bradley seemed like he'd not done his homework, because we all knew what he was going to do. Veltman always seems, when I watch him, super solid defensively. Would that maybe get him the nod over Kadioglu, who's more attacking then?
Yeah, it might be that the manager picks and chooses depending on the game, whether he wants a bit more defensive solidity. Veltman continues to impress me because, again, he's not really a right back. He was bought for us as a centre back, and he's kind of almost made that position his own now. But it has been a bit of a problematic area for us. Obviously, we signed Lamptey. He looked really good. Got injured. Can't really stay fit for too long. We had Gross playing there. We had Hinshelwood playing there. And again, when I saw Veltman start the season, I thought that's probably a bit of a temporary measure. But he's a very, very intelligent footballer. And not to say that Conor Bradley isn't, but defensively, I would definitely trust Veltman over Bradley. Attacking wise, there's no threat at all. He's not going to bomb up and down the pitch and get forward lows. He will come a bit higher to allow Minte to come inside a bit more. But he's not going to be someone who bombs up and down the pitch. That's not his game. But I would expect you to get less joy on that side than I would on the other side.
Just before I ask Az about a couple of other Brighton players before discussing the Forest players that he might fear as well, just a word for our sponsors, the Trent Navigation. Sunday, you can watch Brighton v Forest on the big screen and then stay around for Man City v Arsenal. In fact, you spend the whole day there. You can join them for breakfast for 10 a.m, Sunday roast and the pizza kitchen from noon. You can watch two huge fixtures on the two outdoor screens as the favourites in the top four battle it out. And then obviously Forest v Brighton as well. And then stick around Sunday night, pub quiz. It says they've got sticky 13s for cash, free entry. Do you have a clue what sticky 13s is? Am I missing something?
Sounds a bit dodgy to me.
It does sound rather euphemistic. I know, yeah. Oh dear. And also, what's your favourite pizza? We ask almost every guest this. There was pizza mentioned in that oven because they sell good pizzas at Nav. What are you having?
My favourite pizza. Well, I'm a meat feast type guy. I'm not a massive fan of pepperoni, which sort of is a bit of a staple of a meat feast pizza. But I like the beef and the chicken, and the Domino's pizza meatballs are elite. So yeah, probably something like that. Nice meaty pizza.
That's fair enough. I recorded one earlier this morning with Guy Mowbray, the BBC commentator who did our win at Anfield, and he said ham and pineapple, and I almost spat my tea out.
Just get him out. My girlfriend has a really weird pizza taste. She likes it's something like onions, sweet corn, and peppers, or something like a kind of veggie pizza with a barbecue base. It's the complete opposite of what I like.
Yeah, I can't buy peppers on a pizza. So there you go. It's interesting asking people this because it does reflect their personalities. Sometimes you find out, but not that I know you well or Guy Mowbray, but some of our regular guests, you can get a read on them a little bit. Right, back to Brighton. A couple of players I mentioned. I wanted to ask about. You mentioned one there in Pascal Gross. How much have you missed him? And also, is he literally Brighton's best ever player? Would you say?
Yeah, I think he is. In terms of, we've had some unbelievable players over the years. My favourite player ever played is Bobby Zamora, for example, who scored so many goals for us, so many important goals, such an icon of the club. Anthony Knockaert in that season when we got promoted in the Championship was absolutely unplayable. We've had Trossard, who's now moved to Arsenal and is doing great things. So in terms of like talent, we've had a whole range of different players. But in terms of pure consistency, like would play in every match, in any position, would deliver an 8 out of 10 performance every time, score key goals for us. Without him, we would have got relegated probably in 2 seasons, the first 2 seasons that we had in the league. I think he has to go down as our greatest player. Taking us into Europe as well, which we've never been in before. To me, he is the best ever Brighton player we've ever had. Maybe not the most, exciting, dribble past 3 players and score a worldly goal. That would probably go to Trossard, I think, in terms of that pure talent. But I think it's certainly in that consistency. Yeah, he's the best.
You mentioned some interesting things. Obviously, Forest fans love Zamora because he scored in the playoff final against Derby when he was at QPR as Bobby Zamora Day. Anthony Knockaert and Glenn Murray sprung to mind as well. Murray ended his career at Forest. He did okay. Anthony Knockaert was terrible for us in a pretty terrible team under
he was terrible for us
as well.
Yeah, I know he was terrible for us as soon as he got to the Premier League, but kind of forget about those and look at him with rose-tinted glasses.
Yeah, well, with Houghton as well, there's some interesting connections where you probably came out on the better side of all of them as Brighton fans.
I think so. Yeah, I think
we're in a good place now. With Gross, he went to Dortmund because you couldn't keep him. Was that his boyhood club or something?
Yeah. It's like his dream move, and he's 33, 34 years old, and coming to the end of his his career potentially, and couldn't have offered any more. So couldn't be going with better wishes from all of us Brighton fans.
Danny Welbeck was the other player I was going to ask you about. It feels like he's having not an Indian summer because he's always been there or thereabouts, but he's another who sometimes he can't play 90 or he doesn't score enough goals. But is he in a proper purple patch at the moment, or is this going to be the pitch for the season, or is it's maybe not a flash in the pan, but we're just catching him at a bad time potentially?
Yeah, I think it's similar to the Veltman situation in that he was probably not tipped to be the starting 9 for the season, given the other options that we've got. But it's very hard to drop him the way he's playing. And like you said, the problem with Welbeck is you can't fault his work rate, his professionalism, what he brings to the side in terms of energy. But you need goals from your 9. And I don't even know what his record is, but I can't remember the last time he scored over 10 goals in the league. And even Neil Maupay would get us 10 goals pretty consistently. But yeah, he started the season absolutely brilliant. And I was at the Ipswich game, and you just see what he brings to the side, because he is everywhere. He's just, his work rate is absolutely unrivaled, I think, for that position. And I think because we rely so much on the wingers, staying wide, but then also cutting in, we need players to drop to create that space. And Pedro and Welbeck have got a great kind of synergy in the way they do that, both dropping at different times, coming into midfield, both scoring goals as well up top. So for now, I'd be amazed if he wasn't starting against you. I think he's pretty safe in the team in the short term, but I do wonder if it starts to drop off a little bit, he's probably one of the first names that I can see getting replaced, because Ferguson is just the one that springs to mind. I mean, what happens with Ferguson is really interesting for the club, because a year ago he's being touted as a £150 million player. Chelsea are going to go for him in the summer and going to lose another player and all that. And now no one's talking about him. So what's his trajectory now? Does he get back into the team? He can only play at the 9, so he has to play in Welbeck's position. Or if he can't even oust Welbeck from the team, maybe he doesn't have so much of a big future with us.
Yeah, he's a player, like, if he doesn't make it at Brighton, I'd love to sign him. I think he's great. He's just another one who's struggled with injuries. I mean, what do you make of Forest? I was going to ask as well, because obviously you follow a lot of football, you watch a lot of football, you look at it with data, and you kind of inflicted with a lot of Forest info because Mark's a Forest fan. It feels like you're a sort of a surrogate Forest fan, or watcher at least. What do you make of us?
Yeah, I've been really impressed this year. I was quite surprised actually that Nuno stayed without knowing the kind of ins and outs of the club. I thought, obviously you stayed up last season, but I kind of thought with the style of the team, and there was quite a few periods in the season where I thought maybe he was a bit at risk. Obviously Cooper was quite sort of in my eyes sort of a bit unceremoniously kind of dropped from the side, and I just wondered if that was maybe a pattern that might, a bit more ruthlessness in the managers. But obviously he's been backed at the start of the season. Results have been really good, so he's not in any kind of immediate danger. I think you've got threat everywhere. The wingers are so effective. I think in midfield with Gibbs White, obviously, and Chris Wood is just the most effective striker. He reminds me of Glenn Murray, because he's not mobile at all. Like, he doesn't really offer anything to the team, does he, apart from goals? And that's kind of sometimes all you need, just a big man up top who can put the ball in the net. Because I remember watching Glenn Murray in his last few seasons for us, and he would have no impact on the game whatsoever, and then just kind of ghost into the right position and tuck a goal away. But I think what I've been most impressed with is defensively. You're obviously kind of in the top. I think you're in the top 3 or 4 in terms of those expected goal numbers, and kind of some of the fewest chances conceded. Obviously, amazing performance against Liverpool defensively. Other than Sells dropping the ball, he looked pretty comfortable in that. And Murillo looks great, and I think adding Moreno is a great signing, and moving Aina over to the right as well. So you've got 2 really attacking fullbacks, intelligent football players, strong wingers, a creative hub and talisman in Hudson, in Gibbs White. So yeah, you're strong all over. I hope that our centre backs can do a number on Chris Wood if he starts. Just keep him shackled, and maybe the goals will be less forthcoming.
I'm sure he'll start. He's doing ever so well for us. He keeps stepping up to the plate, certainly.
Yeah.
If you were picking out a player to worry about, then, as you've mentioned the wingers, would it be Gibbs White? Because every guest who comes on here says Gibbs White is the player that they worry from a opposition point of view. Is that the case for you as well?
Yeah, I think particularly if Weaver's out again, which it looks like he is. He wasn't even on the bench for us. He's our most natural sort of defensive midfielder, who I would hope could maybe keep him a little bit under wraps. Instead, that's going to fall to Baleba and Ayari. I mean, Baleba's really impressed me. He wasn't great last season, but he started the season really strongly. He's got loads of energy, but he's good at going forward. Not always amazing in that kind of defensive mid status. So I worry a bit that if we allow Gibbs White a bit too much room to kind of operate, he could really pull the strings and cause some issues. And I'm a bit worried about that midfield battle. But Ilanga's the one I'm most worried about if he starts that match up against whoever we play at left back, because I think whoever we play, Kadioglu's pretty much untested. Estupiñán's had his injury problems, and Hinchelwood isn't a natural left back. So whoever he goes up against, I expect him to do quite well.
Interesting. Just lastly, any extra nerves for this game? Because if we win, then Mark will not let you hear the end of it for at least a few weeks, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, I went to the 0-0 last season, or was that the season before?
And it was a siege. Yeah, there was a
yeah,
season
that
before.
was one of the most frustrating games I've ever watched. I can't even remember the results that we had last season. Was it
you beat us last season? That was one of the games that Forest fans remember, or I remember, because Nuno went there and you just played in Europe. I think you just played Roma, and Nuno went very defensive, and I think you won 1-0, and we just let a glove on you or something like that.
You did the same, didn't you? Bench the wingers again? Was it a similar?
Yeah, yes, it was.
Yeah,
yeah.
I do remember that.
To be fair to Mark, referenced that game after Liverpool and said Nuno's plan was to bring on the wingers and keep it tight, but we didn't have very good players. And I think, did Mo just score the goal and then he should have been sent off?
Something like that. That rings a bell. But we were very gettable. We had so many injuries at that point. I remember that game now. I was amazed that we managed to get a win. But that was the kind of game where you saw the lineups and just thought, oh, hello. We've actually got a chance here, and I don't really know why he did that, because if you'd gone full strength, I think you would have won that game. But anyway, it's easy to say with hindsight. There is definitely a bit of extra spice. The black box derby, we call it. There's always a bit of extra spice. Don't like losing those bragging rights to Mark. It feels a bit nicer now though, because when we were both kind of almost relegation threatened, it felt a bit mean to be like, oh, I really want Forest to lose. I think we're both going to be fine this season. We're both going to be kind of mid-table teams. So there's a bit less pressure on the wins.
I think so. I mean, I think, if we finish one place below you, then we've had a very good season. I still think, but I think it'll be a good game, certainly. Right. If people have enjoyed this, as ever, do us a favor and hit like on the video. Do consider subscribing. In fact, just do subscribe and give us a good review on iTunes, and you can become a channel member and a lovely review on Spotify. Just say nice things about us, basically. As Az will attest, we always say on these things, hit like, but it does make a massive difference.
Got to feed that algorithm.
Exactly. The evil algorithm, certainly, yes. Right, we shall be back Sunday, because it's a Saturday game, with our post-match show, and then we'll review it all on Monday, and then take things into next week as ever. But Az, thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate your company, and hopefully we'll have you back on for the reverse fixture, whenever that is. I don't actually know.
Whatever it is, look forward to it. I imagine I'll be going to that one with Mark. We still haven't gone to a Forest Brighton game together, which is terrible. Yeah, try and get to the City Ground for the next game.
When have you been to the City Ground much as a fan at all?
Never been.
So you're in for a treat then.
I know. I need to change
good atmosphere. Yeah, certainly. Right. Good to have everyone with us. Thanks for your company. And if we don't see you on Sunday, then hopefully we shall see you soon.
Thanks for having me on. See ya.